First contact and rising tensions. The stars had always held humanity's dreams, but they also harbored its greatest nightmare. Captain Isabella Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, watching as the massive alien ship emerged from the darkness like a predator rising from the depths. Its crystalline surface caught the light of distant stars, creating an ethereal glow that belied its deadly purpose. Multiple energy signatures detected, Captain. Lieutenant Raj Patel reported from his station, is usually steady-voiced, carrying an edge of concern. Their technology, it's unlike anything we've encountered in our previous expeditions. The year was 2157, and humanity had spent the last 3 decades exploring the stars, establishing colonies on Mars and Venus, and pushing the boundaries of known space. The Horizon's mission was supposed to be routine. Investigate an unusual signal from the Epsilon Eridani system. Instead, they found themselves face to face with the vanguard of the Valtherian Empire. The alien vessel dwarfed the Horizon, its size alone a testament to technological superiority that made Earth's greatest achievements seem like child's play. As Isabella studied the preliminary scans, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change the course of human history. "Open a channel," she ordered, straightening her uniform. "All frequencies, first contact protocols." The bridge crew held their breath as they waited. The response came not as words, but as a surge of energy that swept through their systems, bypassing their most sophisticated firewalls as if they were paper barriers. Holographic displays materialized throughout the bridge, showing beings that seemed to be made of living crystal and light. The Valtherians spoke in perfect English, their voices resonating with an artificial harmony that sent chills down Isabella's spine. "Your presence has been noted, primitive species." Research facilities worldwide began analyzing the data from the encounter. Military strategists studied the Valtherian ship's design for weaknesses. Engineers started adapting Earth's technology based on what little they had gleaned from the brief interaction. Most importantly, humanity refused to back down. When the 24-hour deadline passed, Earth's response was broadcast on all frequencies. "We reject your ultimatum. Humanity will not be contained. We choose our own path among the stars." The Valtherian response came in the form of a massive fleet emerging from hyperspace near Jupiter. Their ships, each one a masterpiece of crystalline engineering, moved into position around Earth's solar system. The message was clear: submit or be crushed. But as Isabella watched the enemy fleet from the bridge of the Horizon, now part of Earth's hastily assembled defense force, she saw something the Valtherians had missed. Their perfect formations, their overwhelming technology, their absolute certainty in their superiority. These weren't just strengths. They were weaknesses waiting to be exploited. "They think they're unbeatable," she said to her crew, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "That's exactly why they'll lose. Because humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to achieve the impossible when everyone tells us we can't." The final transmission from Earth to the Valtherian fleet was brief. "You may be unbeatable, but you've never faced humans before." The battle for Earth's future was about to begin, and humanity was ready to prove that sometimes the greatest victory comes from being underestimated. The Valtherians were about to learn that declaring themselves unbeatable was their first mistake, and humanity would make sure it was one they'd never forget. The edge of extinction. The Valtherian invasion began at dawn. Their crystalline ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their energy weapons cutting through humanity's best defenses as if they were tissue paper. Major cities worldwide found themselves under simultaneous attack, the alien forces displaying a level of coordination that made Earth's military responses seem primitive in comparison. Captain Isabella Rodriguez watched from the bridge of the UES horizon as New York's orbital defense grid collapsed in seconds. Status report on the evacuation, she demanded, maintaining her composure even as chaos erupted around her. 60% of the civilian population has reached the underground shelters, Lieutenant Petal responded, his fingers flying over the holographic controls. But we're losing communication with several sectors. The Valtharians had learned from their initial encounter. They didn't just attack military installations. They targeted communication centers, power grids, and transportation hubs. Their strategy was precise, methodical, and terrifyingly effective. Within hours, Earth's major cities were isolated from each other, their defenses fragmented. In London, Commander Marcus Bishop led a desperate ground defense against the Valtharian ground forces. The aliens had deployed what looked like living crystals that walked like men, their bodies seemingly impervious to conventional weapons. Fall back to position Delta. He shouted over the comm system, watching as another volley of bullets bounced harmlessly off the advancing crystal warriors. But amid the devastation, humanity showed its true nature. In Tokyo, civilians helped each other into underground bunkers designed for earthquakes, now serving as impromptu shelters. In Rio de Janeiro, local hackers worked frantically to maintain communication networks using outdated equipment and improvised satellites. In Cairo, university students converted their laboratories into emergency medical centers. 3 days into the invasion, humanity faced a harsh reality. They were losing, badly. The Valtharians controlled most major cities, their crystal fortresses rising from the ruins like alien mountains. But they had made one critical mistake. They assumed that controlling the cities meant controlling Earth. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility known only as the Vault, Dr. Karina Volkov studied the data from the few successful engagements against the Valtharians. "There's something here," she muttered, her eyes fixed on the readings from a failed attack that had accidentally disrupted a Valtharian warrior's crystal structure. The facility had gathered some of Earth's brightest minds, working around the clock to find any weakness in the seemingly invincible enemy. Dr. Volkov's team included quantum physicists, materials scientists, and even geologists, all approaching the problem from different angles. Their crystalline structure, she explained to the assembled team, it's not just armor, it's who they are. And like any crystal, it must maintain specific conditions to remain stable. On the surface, the resistance continued to grow. The Valtharians' focus on major population centers left vast areas of Earth under minimal occupation. Small groups of soldiers, civilians, and scientists began forming networks, sharing information through old radio equipment and hand-delivered messages. Isabella's Horizon, along with a handful of other ships that had survived the initial assault, conducted hit-and-run attacks on Valtharian supply lines. They couldn't win direct confrontations, but they could gather intelligence and disrupt the enemy's operations. Their ships follow the same patterns every time, Isabella noted during a secure transmission to other resistance leaders. They're efficient, yes, but they're also predictable. They don't adapt well to chaos. Commander Bishop, now leading a guerrilla force in the European theatre, noticed something similar on the ground. The Crystal Warriors move in perfect formation, never deviating from their programmed tactics. When we force them into unexpected situations, they hesitate. This information made its way back to Dr. Volkov's team, who had made a breakthrough of their own. All crystals have resonant frequencies, she explained to the Resistance Council. Hit them just right, and they shatter. The Valtherians are no different. They're just operating on a quantum level we hadn't considered before. The discovery sparked a new phase of human resistance. Small teams began testing prototype sonic weapons, while others worked on electromagnetic pulse generators calibrated to the specific frequencies Dr. Volkov's team had identified. But the Valtherians weren't idle. Their response to human resistance was to accelerate their plans for Earth's reformation. Massive crystal structures began growing in occupied territories, slowly transforming Earth's environment to match their homeworld. The sight of these alien growths spreading across familiar landscapes sparked something in the human population. Fear turned to anger, and anger turned to determination. People who had never fought before took up arms. Scientists worked without sleep. Former rivals became allies. Isabella gathered her crew for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. We've confirmed that the Valtherians have a central command structure in what used to be Geneva. Dr. Volkov's team has developed a prototype weapon, but we need direct access to their main crystal matrix to test it. The plan was audacious, some would say suicidal. But as Isabella looked at her crew, she saw no hesitation in their eyes. They had watched their world burn, seen friends and family fall, but they hadn't given up. The Valtherians' greatest mistake wasn't underestimating human technology or military might. It was underestimating human willpower. As the Horizon prepared for its mission, resistance cells worldwide began coordinating their efforts. The Valtherians had declared themselves unbeatable, but they were about to learn that humanity was at its most dangerous when pushed to the edge of extinction. Dr. Volkov made one final adjustment to our device, a quantum resonance generator that looked deceptively simple. Remember, she told the strike team, their crystal technology isn't just their weapon, it's their weakness. They built their empire on the assumption that they had achieved perfection. But in doing so, they became brittle. The stage was set for humanity's counterattack. The Valtherians believed they had won, that Earth's population was subdued and defeated. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. As Isabella told her crew before they embarked on their mission, they thought they were unbeatable because they'd never lost. We're unbeatable because we've never quit. The Resistance had a saying, "Diamonds might be unbreakable, but every crystal has its breaking point." Humanity was about to prove it. The hidden advantage. The UES Horizon cut through the night sky like a shadow, its stealth systems operating at maximum capacity. Captain Isabella Rodriguez and her crew were about to attempt something no one had managed before, infiltrating a Valtherian command center. Dr. Volkov's quantum resonance device hummed softly in the cargo bay, surrounded by the best engineers humanity could muster. The device represented humanity's greatest hope, a weapon designed to exploit the one weakness they'd found in the seemingly invincible crystalline beings. 5 minutes to target, Lieutenant Petel announced, his voice steady despite the tension filling the bridge. The Geneva Command Center loomed ahead, a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with an inner light, its geometric patterns shifting in ways that defied human architecture. Commander Bishop's ground forces were already in position around the facility, hidden in the ruins of what was once one of Earth's most beautiful cities. Their role was crucial. Create enough chaos to draw attention away from the Horizon's approach. Remember, Isabella's voice carried across all resistance channels. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting to prove that humanity deserves its place among the stars. The attack began with an orchestrated series of explosions at key points around the facility. Bishop's forces had spent weeks studying Valtherian patrol patterns, identifying the perfect moments to strike. The Crystal Warriors responded exactly as predicted, moving in perfect, unchanging formations to counter the threat. Their predictability is their weakness. Bishop transmitted as his forces engaged the enemy. They fight like machines, never adapting, never improvising. Use it against them. Above, the horizon descended through a gap in the Valtherian defensive screen. Dr. Volkov's calculations had been perfect. The facility's energy patterns created a blind spot just large enough for a skilled pilot to exploit. Inside the command center, the Valtherians remained confident in their superiority. Their crystalline forms moved with fluid grace through holes that seemed to be growing rather than built, their thoughts connected through a vast network of quantum-entangled pathways. They never expected humans to understand their technology well enough to breach their defenses. This assumption proved to be their critical error. The Horizon's insertion team, led by Isabella herself, moved through the facility's lower levels. Dr. Volkov's device had been miniaturized into portable emitters that disrupted the Valtherians' ability to detect human presence. Another innovation born from weeks of desperate research and countless sacrifices. Their overconfidence is showing, Isabella whispered as they passed another unmanned junction. They never thought they'd need internal security systems. Why guard against insects? The team reached the central matrix, the heart of the Valtherian command structure. It was a sight that took their breath away. A massive crystal core that pulsed with colors beyond human description, each facet containing what seemed to be infinite depths. Dr. Volkov's voice crackled through their comms. Remember, the resonance has to be perfect. Too strong, and you'll alert every Valtherian in the sector. Too weak, and it won't cascade through their network. Isabella looked at her team. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers united by a common purpose. They had one chance to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or numbers, but in their ability to adapt, to think creatively, to find solutions where none seemed possible. The device activated with a barely perceptible hum. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a ripple in a pond, subtle distortions began spreading through the crystal structure. The Valtherians noticed too late. Their perfect, unchanging nature, the very thing they took pride in, became their undoing. The resonance spread through their quantum network, disrupting the delicate balance of their crystalline forms. They couldn't adapt fast enough to counter it. Outside, Bishop's forces watched in amazement as the crystal warriors began to falter. Their movements became erratic, their perfect formations breaking down. For the first time, humanity saw confusion in their alien adversaries. It's working. Dr. Volkov's excitement was palpable through the comm system. The disruption is cascading through their entire network. Their quantum cohesion is failing. The Valtherian response was immediate but disorganized. Their ships, previously moving in perfect synchronization, began to show signs of distress. The crystalline structures that had seemed so impervious to damage started developing microscopic fractures. Isabella's team worked quickly to secure the facility, using modified weapons that took advantage of the quantum disruption. The Valtherians, for all their advanced technology, had never prepared for this kind of attack. They had never needed to. As news of the success spread, resistance cells worldwide began launching coordinated attacks using replicated versions of Dr. Volkov's device. The Valtherians, their network disrupted, could no longer maintain their perfect coordination. They thought their unity was their strength, Isabella transmitted to all resistance forces. But they forgot that true strength comes from diversity, from the ability to think and act independently. They made themselves perfect, and perfectly vulnerable. The Geneva operation marked a turning point in the war. Humanity had proven that the unbeatable could be beaten, that even the most advanced civilization had its blind spots. The Valtherians had built their empire on the assumption of their own perfection, never considering that imperfection, humanity's ability to learn, adapt, and overcome, might be the greater advantage. As the sun rose over Geneva, the massive crystal structure that had dominated the skyline began to dim. The Valtherians were retreating, their forces in disarray. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. They'll adapt eventually, Dr. Volkov cautioned during the victory briefing. But now they know what we're capable of. More importantly, now we know what we're capable of. Isabel looked out over the gathered resistance leaders, seeing hope in their eyes for the first time since the invasion began. The Valtherians thought they were unbeatable because they'd never lost, she said. We're unbeatable because we never stop learning from our losses. That's the difference they didn't understand, and that's why we'll win. The war was far from over, but humanity had found its path to victory. They had proved that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in being unbeatable, but in knowing how to rise after being beaten, turning the tide. The months following the Geneva victory transformed Earth's resistance into a global offensive. Captain Isabella Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the newly upgraded UES Horizon, watching as a fleet of human ships assembled in low Earth orbit. Each vessel now carried Dr. Volkov's quantum disruption technology, refined and improved through countless battles. "Fleet status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of experience. "All ships reporting ready, Captain." Lieutenant Petel responded. "Operation Shatterpoint is go." The plan was ambitious. Simultaneous attacks on major Valtherian strongholds worldwide. The enemy had adapted to the initial quantum disruption tactics, but humanity had adapted faster. Each defeat taught them something new about their crystalline adversaries. Commander Bishop's ground forces had developed innovative guerrilla tactics, using the Valtherians' rigid battle formations against them. "They think in straight lines," he often said. "So we think in circles." The Valtherian Empire was showing its first signs of internal strain. Their perfect society, built on the assumption of absolute superiority, struggled to cope with repeated failures. Reports indicated growing discord among their leadership caste, something previously thought impossible. Dr. Volkov's team made another breakthrough, discovering that Earth's magnetic field interfered with Valtherian quantum communications. This knowledge led to a new strategy, using the planet itself as a weapon against the invaders. The global offensive began at dawn. Human forces struck with controlled chaos, unpredictable yet coordinated. The Valtherians found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere, using tactics that changed with each engagement. What the Valtherians never understood was that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their numbers. It was their diversity of thought, their ability to learn from each other, to combine ideas in ways that had never been tried before. As the battles raged, something unexpected happened. Other alien species, long suppressed by the Valtherian Empire, began their own rebellions. Humanity's resistance had shown them that the unbeatable could be beaten. Victory and aftermath. The final battle for Earth began where the war started, in orbit above the planet. The Valtherian Supreme Command, recognizing the threat of total defeat, launched one last, desperate assault. Their remaining ships formed a massive crystalline array, creating a weapon capable of devastating entire continents. They believed this display of overwhelming force would finally break humanity's will to resist. They were wrong. Isabella stood on the horizon's bridge, coordinating with resistance forces worldwide. Years of war had taught humanity valuable lessons about unity and determination. Dr. Volkov's latest creation, a planetary-scale quantum disruption field, was ready. They still think this is about technology. Isabella transmitted to all Earth forces. They never understood that our real strength is our spirit. The final battle lasted 3 days. The Valtherian array, impressive as it was, couldn't adapt to humanity's constantly changing tactics. Earth's combined forces attacked from multiple angles, using everything from advanced energy weapons to simple electromagnetic pulses. Commander Bishop's ground forces struck at crucial power relay stations. Dr. Volkov's team activated the planetary disruption field, and the Horizon led a daring assault on the array's command node. When the end came, it wasn't with a dramatic explosion or a single decisive blow. The Valtherian array simply failed. Their perfect crystalline structure, unable to maintain cohesion under constant adaptation pressure, began to break down. The aftermath brought surprising revelations. The Valtherian Empire, spanning countless star systems, was collapsing. Their rigid hierarchy couldn't survive the shock of defeat. Other species, inspired by humanity's victory, were claiming their independence. Isabella stood in the United Earth Council chamber, delivering her final report. The Valtherians weren't unbeatable, she concluded. They were trapped by their own perfection. In trying to create an unchanging order, they lost the ability to grow, to adapt, to survive failure and learn from it. Dr. Volkov's research opened new avenues of scientific understanding. The integration of quantum physics and crystal technology revolutionized human development. Earth began reaching out to other liberated species, forming new alliances based on mutual respect rather than dominance. Commander Bishop established a new defense force, incorporating lessons learned from the war. "We won't make the same mistake," he insisted. "We'll never assume we're unbeatable. That's what makes us strong." The Valtherian War changed humanity forever. It proved that true strength lies not in being unbeatable, but in having the courage to face defeat and the wisdom to learn from it. Earth emerged not just as a military victor, but as a symbol of hope for countless civilizations. Years later, Isabella stood on the observation deck of the new Earth Space Academy, watching young cadets from various species training together. The stars that had once seemed to harbor humanity's greatest threat now represented endless possibilities. They thought they were unbeatable, she told a group of students, because they had never lost. "We proved unbeatable because we never stopped learning how to win." The lesson was clear. In the vast expanse of space, there is no such thing as unbeatable. There are only those who adapt and those who don't. Humanity had chosen its path, not to become perfect, but to remain perfectly adaptable. And somewhere in the cosmos, the remnants of the Valtherian Empire had learned a crucial lesson. Sometimes the strongest crystals are the ones that know how to bend without breaking.